So the Verde River is, I think, Arizona's last free-flowing desert stream.
You know, this river is tied to the agricultural economy of this area. It's also tied to our drinking water supplies. So more than 3 million people depend on the Verde River water flowing downstream to the Phoenix metro area for water supply. In 2007, the USGS did a seepage run, and there were 3 places where the river was already dry. You know, some studies show 35% decline in base flow.
We are the largest surface water user in the Verde Valley as far as the amount of acres that we farm. We have about 600 acres that we farm. You know, I think about 1% of the world's population is feeding the world, so I think it's very important what we do. I take a lot of pride in what I do.
We really wanted to say, how can we keep farms in production, but also reduce the impact on the river?
And they were exchanging ideas, and one of the ideas that was being exchanged was the notion of crop swapping, which is the idea of taking crops that are normally high water use and pulling them out of the ground and instead replacing them with ones that be lower water use.
There's a big difference in the water usage. It's just a different time of year, really. Corn, we're planting it around the 1st of May and harvesting it by the end of September. You know, May and June is pretty much a 0% chance of rain, so we're having to use a lot of water, whereas barleys were planted by late January, early February around here, and we're harvesting in the middle of June. If we have a decent winter, we'll get quite a bit of rain. Sometimes we don't even have to irrigate the barley until, you know, the end of March. So that means the river is the main beneficiary because we're not using any water in the months of June and July when the river is the lowest. We can make almost the same amount of money that we would on corn doing barley.
With that concept, we said, well, we need to have a malt house, and that's where we really came through with the Sinagua malt idea.
That was the missing piece in the, the farmer doing the switch. He had to have a market, and that meant we had to have a local malting facility. And now we've done that, and we're selling malt to brewers throughout Arizona. They probably would have had to ship to Idaho or Canada to get it, to get it malted.
How far does Hauser Farms have to ship their barley now?
Well, they don't. We go over and pick it up at their farm, so they have to ship it 0 miles.
So we go pick it up on a weekly basis at Hauser and Hauser Farm. We bring in about 4 tons that we store here at our facility. So the process uses naturally some water here in our steeping vessel. Per steep we use about 10,000 pounds of water. Our current water consumption is just a dent in the amount of water that we're saving. Throughout this Sinagua Malt project, for the month of June 2018, we have kept 47 million gallons of water into the Verde River by not growing corn or alfalfa and instead encouraging farmers to grow barley. This is our finished malt. So it's crunchy, it's golden, and it kind of tastes like beer. It's like solid beer in a way.
So, you know, malt provides the fermentable sugars for the yeast to actually create beer. So without malt, you technically don't have beer in general. We are currently ordering about 5,000 pounds every 2 weeks, which gets us to about 90% of our base malt is completely Sinagua. It had a different character that I've not had in beers brewed with, you know, malt that everyone else is getting.
Well, some of the beers that I've tried are incredible.
The beer is good. I've tried a lot of the different beers. It's very good.
You know, it's not buying local just because it's local. It's because it's local and it's good.
By doing what we're doing, working with Hauser Farms and the Nature Conservancy, it's a great way to get the word out to a broader community about how important river conservation is.
We really need to think about conservation more in a business perspective. We really need to think about how do we use business in our conservation, because conservation as a philanthropic pursuit is not going to be successful.
It lessens water use on the river and then ends up with a product that goes into beer, and who doesn't like that?
I'll say it both ways. Save water, drink beer. Drink beer, save water.